Welcome back to Movie Monday. This is our last Monday with the Disney underrated-a-thon, I guess. Um, Today we watched Treasure Planet, and did you guys know, well, actually, Valen, did you
Mm,
know that this is actually a loose retelling of Treasure Island,
I
which
mean,
is a novel?
yeah, that
Okay, good.
that granted, I don't know if I've actually read the story of Treasure Island. Like I know the really basic stuff, but I don't
I
know if
was
I
forced
know.
to read it in third grade by my bitch-ass teacher, and I will
Yeah,
never forgive her.
Okay.
I think I also had to read it for summer reading, but I don't remember that much of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it was long and dense as fuck. This is the same dude who wrote Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, so
Hmm.
I don't know what that woman was on.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, because I know it's a story based on that story, but I don't really know the specifics of that story. So, because, like, for example, anything that I would say, like, oh, I wish they kind of did blah in this movie, I'm pretty sure that's because they didn't do it because, like, that's not in this original story, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I know that, but I still at least granted, I did still like it a good amount overall. But there were like a couple things I'm like, oh, I kind of wish they did this, but and they didn't.
I
And
mean,
I'm assuming that's
personally,
why.
as mentioned, I do prefer this movie over the novel because I found the movie a lot more engaging, and
Mm.
there are some changes that I do remember uh, that at least make me like this a little bit, well, not a little bit, a bit more than the actual original novel. Um, One of those things
And you
being,
remember more of the novel than I do too.
yeah, mostly because I'm mildly traumatized by my fucking bitch ass teacher. But one of the major changes is to Silver's character. He's a lot more sympathetic in this film, and I don't know, I think it works.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Hmm.
I mean, if any viewers want to read the novel, first of all, don't,
Mm.
because well, in the novel, Mr. Arrow is killed by Silver, but in the movie, it's by the Scroop guy who is. He has an analog, but I don't remember a ton from him. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess if you're turning Silver into less of a direct antagonist, therefore you have to sort of relegate some of the more antagonistic stuff to like some other guy.
Other people.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you need someone else to take the antagonistic role. Um, I think this is like my fourth or fifth time watching this movie.
Mm.
I can't remember if I actually saw this in theaters when it
Oh,
originally
nice.
released. I can't exactly pinpoint if I have or not, but I remember seeing it on a big screen, whether that be someone's huge television screen or the movie theater. So,
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've not
um,
seen this at all, so
what are your thoughts, Valen?
I like it a good amount. Definitely
Yay!
the animation is really good. And
Yeah.
like the art style and everything. It's not exactly steampunk. It's a little bit different. It's like
I think it's like sci-fi steampunk,
Yeah, I
but
but
I
guess
feel
it's
like
like
the,
steampunk.
space
the word
punk.
that entered into my head was colonialism punk.
Colonial Space Corps.
Yeah, sure, that works. Um,
Oh my god!
but yeah, the aesthetic is really nice, and just again like the animation of things because they definitely blend sort of like 3D CGI objects with like 2D animation. I think it works really well here.
Hmm.
So that's done really well, and just the given the setting and the fact that it is in space, you have all these different planets and different like alien species or whatever. It adds to a lot of visual variety, which I feel like a lot of Disney movies, because of their sort of more quote unquote realistic or more like either realistic or just a more sort of contained story, you don't have as
Hmm.
many
Hmm.
opportunities with that kind of variety as you have here. So
Yeah.
Hmm.
that's really nice. So that stuff definitely works really well. And then I overall like the characterization of especially like again Silver and Jim. how they work together, I think, is done really well.
Mhm.
I feel like
Yeah.
it did cross my mind that it sort of feels like kind of in a sense similar to Atlantis in the sense that like you have this sort of group of people going on this adventure and it focuses on multiple side characters, but this does it noticeably better partly because there's just less characters to focus on.
Yeah, I
It's
agree
also
with
not
that.
racist.
Well, yeah. But
Yeah.
because here you have again Jim, Silver, and then like are sort of the main two, and then sort of the next tier down would be Captain Amelia, the
and the
Doctor,
Doctor.
and I guess the robot guy kind of maybe sort of falls into that second tier, if not a third tier, sort of. And then like everyone else is sort of below that. And I think that's better. Whereas Atlantis, it was basically like Milo was number one, and then Kita was like trying to be number two, but they kind of didn't really do too much with her. So meh. And then there was like, but then there was like 7 other people that you all were like kind of supposed to care about. And it's like, it wasn't. It didn't. Again, especially because when I remember Tara, you mentioned like a show, right? Or I said like a longer movie, and like if you have more time, then you can have more characters. But if you only have an hour and a half, you can't really have like 9 characters to care about. So where here they don't have that. You have kind of like 4-ish. So then it works out pretty well. So yeah, I liked it a good amount.
Yay! I guess the other thing too is that they didn't. It's more of a parent and child movie rather than a romance movie because Atlantis kind of had to shove a romantic plot into it, like at the 2/3 of the way through, while here it actually focuses on like the father-son bond between Jim and John and stuff, and I think it works out really well here.
Yeah, I'm surprised that like
engaging.
yeah, like because the whole thing about like the dad left or whatever, and like that very often like it's kind of the whole trope of like Disney movies that like one of the parents is like dead or like gone or something, and like it's like mentioned, but it like kind of doesn't matter, right? But here it does matter, and also even in like one of the sort of I think the montage sequence they show like a flashback basically of like his father leaving, and I'm like, I don't really think they ever really do that really exactly to that specific degree, showing that like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was impressive with that. And also you mentioned Arrow. I don't know, like I was kind of surprised. They're like, oh yeah, he's just dead and like he's gone and you never see him again. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, he gets sucked into a black hole. It's pretty fucked up.
Like I don't know why I just was kind of like how it was shown. I'm like, okay, so he's gonna like come back and save the day. And I'm like, nope, he's just gone. So I'm like, okay, cool. So.
And somehow I care more about his death than of all the people that died in Atlantis.
Yeah.
All the no-name mooks, yeah. I will say the one. Well, okay. There's 2 characters who I feel are kind of not as utilized as they could have been. The first is Captain Amelia, who is still done pretty well, but I just wanted a bit more of her because I really liked her personality and how she just was working. And again, the thing with like the Doctor, it's like it's not bad, but it does kind of feel like we just needed some time to fill. Here's the thing, you know what I mean? So yeah, I just kind of wish that was maybe given a bit more time. And then. This is the main thing that I kind of was like, oh, I wish they did this. I wish the mom came along.
I
like the mom
too. In the original novel, she didn't go.
Right. That's why I was thinking that. Like, I'm sure that's because that's how it was in the original movie. And again, you could say that it detracts from the specific dynamic between, Jim and Silver. So I get that, but I was just kind of like, oh, I don't know. I wished I liked her and how she was kind of with Jim, and just I don't know. I feel like that could have it would be a different story, right? So it's sort of one of those criticisms where it's like, is this really a criticism of this story? Not really, but it was at least a thought that entered my head. So yeah, but
I think it could have been interesting if the mom came along too, because then it's like, what is she doing at home without a home?
That's true.
She's just living at a friend's house right now.
Well, I mean, they were at the doctor's place. She's just like sleeping on his. She's like, I don't know, on his couch. They're like, yo, he left me some pasta in the fridge.
Like, so how are things been? Oh, my son and friend, they're off on some adventure to hopefully get get money to rebuild my inn, or they could be dead, I guess.
Oh, here's a funny tidbit, piece of trivia. The Doctor is actually the combination of two characters. He's not just one character.
Okay.
Oh.
And in the novel, there is an actual real doctor, so they went out of their way to make him not a real doctor. So I actually got that joke where he's like, I'm not a doctor. I am a doctor, but not that kind of doctor. And I was like, oh yes, you were.
Well, it's that, and also, I mean, it kind of how it was said. It's like that. Oh my god, what's his name? It's that Star Trek character. It's kind of it's kind of reminiscent of the thing he says, but also I feel like that is like kind of a common thing though, even in just like kids fiction. It's like, oh, here's like a smart guy, so obviously he's like smart about everything, and it's like, no. So yeah, so that's kind of so it's layered on a bunch of stuff there. So yeah, the only other kind of complaint that I have is the robot's pretty annoying.
Yeah, so his character is pretty obvious. He is actually the marooned person, and he went insane. So that was a 1-to-1 kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean,
like, I like him? No, but
yeah,
he is supposed to be there.
Right, I get that, and I get like the point of him in terms of this story or whatever. But I'm like, you could have written him just a little bit less annoying than how he was. And granted, I don't like despise him, but it's still just like, oh, it's this guy. Okay, so yeah, that does bring it down a little bit, but not much.
Is that he doesn't appear for most of the movie.
Right. Yeah. If he was there like the whole time, I'd probably be like, oh my god, stop.
You would have wished that he got chucked into the black hole instead.
Yeah. But yeah, again, those are definitely minor things. I definitely feel like sort of stylistically and just sort of as an overall feeling of it all, this kind of feels like Atlantis, but done like well. So yeah. And it came out just a few years after, so yeah. I liked it overall. A few small issues, but they're small issues, and I overall liked it quite a bit. So yeah.
Yay.
Thunder agrees also, apparently.
Yeah, it's kind of stormy here. How fitting.
Yeah. Unfortunately, despite it being like a movie, I guess all three of us liked it, but unfortunately the box office didn't like it that much.
Yeah, I don't get it. Like, I get it for Atlantis because it's not good, but I don't get it for this movie because it is good and it looks good.
At the time, it had a huge budget, I think. I think on the Wikipedia page it states that Treasure Planet is had the biggest budget for a traditional animated film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I know it was like really, and I mean, it makes, given, the look of it, like, it kind of makes sense,
Yeah.
But, yeah. And because I know this is definitely one, and I just kind of wondering why, because it didn't even grossed less than its box office. And usually how this works is that to get a profit, to like actually be profitable, you have to gross like double your box office. So, yeah, it does make me like, what was the reason? That does make me wonder.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just find it very absurd because they're, like, visually it looks good unless kids found it scary or ugly or something.
Poster.
Yeah, but look at this shit. Look at the poster, guys. Go back in time and watch this movie in the theater.
Yeah, it's just...
Well, apparently, if my memory is correct, I did see it in theaters.
Good.
I think.
You helped to contribute. Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, well... Yeah, and I'm looking at Wikipedia right now, and it does say how, like, they had plans to, like, do more with this, and I think this definitely is, like, a world that you could do more with. So, yeah, it's...
Universe, if you could say.
Yeah, and I feel like there's other kinds of stories that, those kind of like pirate adventure-y kind of stories that you could sort of adapt in similar ways still in this universe. So yeah, I think this could have been it's odd. I don't really know what the reason is for why this, because a lot of other stuff like Atlantis kind of makes sense, and like for example, Goofy movie, it actually did like okay at the box office, but it kind of makes sense. Like that does seem like it's a bit of a smaller movie, right? So it makes sense it wouldn't do like amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Black Cauldron, I can also kind of see why it didn't do that well. I think Robin Hood also did sort of okay, but the main reason we picked it was just because it's not really talked about anymore. Not because it did poorly, so to speak. But yeah, so this is one where it's confusing to me why it did as poorly as it did. So yeah,
makes me kind of sad.
Yeah, I definitely feel like this is something where I wish it did do better and it got more going for it. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like
go see this one.
go back in time and
go back in time, please.
Yeah, don't go. Once you've been a time machine, don't bother with anything else. Just go back in time and see this movie. Nothing else needs to be changed with the timeline. Everything else is totally fine. Nothing weird happens at all.
Who knows? Maybe Disney would still be making traditionally animated stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Because I know like mid 2000s they had like a couple things. Okay, because this is, let's see, after this. Okay, well around this time. Okay, because Lilo and Stitch was like before this.
Oh, that's such a good movie.
I don't actually know if I've seen it all the way through.
Really?
I don't think so.
Sin.
But let's see. After this, okay, Brother Bear, which I used to watch Brother Bear like as like a kid, like kind of relatively often, and I remember liking it, but I haven't seen it in like since then, and I've heard it's kind of So, and then, okay, Home on the Range, I've heard is just bad. So
I've heard that too.
But then after that, oh yeah,
no, they just fucking dropped the ball.
Well, they have like Princess and the Frog like in 2010.
And that was like the last one.
Yeah, and very into 2009, and that was it. So yeah, this was basically like the third last one. And it is a shame. Granted, I know there's some people out there who are like, 3D animation is not real animation or whatever, and I'm like, no, okay, like, piss off. Like, those people could suck. But I do admit that it is kind of a shame that we don't see, this style anymore. And, like, there definitely can be some interesting, even combinations of styles with this. Like, what was it? Oh, shit, what was that movie called? It was on Netflix, like, a few years ago that people were praising a lot because of its visuals.
Which one?
I didn't see it. It was like a Christmas movie.
Are you talking about, oh god, I know what you're talking about.
And I remember people specifically praised it for having this interesting, like, combination of, like, 2D and 3D sort of, like, animation visual stuff.
Was it the one about, like, A Christmas Carol or something?
I didn't see it, so, but, yeah,
I don't remember.
But, yeah, so...
I think I know what you're talking about, but I also don't remember what...
Yeah, so there's that, and then, like,
yeah. Oh, I remember, I forgot what it was the short for, but it was like a Pixar or Disney short that came before a movie. It was a
Paperman. I think that came before Wreck-It Ralph, because I watched that several times.
Oh yeah, I that's another thing where again I have not seen it, but I know what you're talking about, and that's another thing. Yeah, people have praised for the kind of visual style, because definitely like. Because I will admit that there are a lot of like 3D animated movies that kind of like have the same visual style to them.
Yeah.
Like thinking like a lot of like Illumination movies, for example, they all kind of look the same. And so I get that. So if people are sort of frustrated with like 3D animation that way, I get it. But at the same time, like there's totally ways you can really mess with both 3D and 2D animation styles in a really, really creative ways. Like Spider-Verse does it really well, of course.
Yeah.
There's some
Spider-Verse, and then also this movie too, because it also mixed 2D and 3D.
Yeah, and also I'm thinking of Love, Death, and Robots is a bunch of shorts on Netflix that they're like a lot of them are very not safe for work, but like visually I mean, there's a range of styles. Some of them are like kind of hyper realistic, like 3D CGI, even though it is still animation. But then others are this very interestingly stylized, 2D versus sort of like a mix and sort of anime styles. So like that's definitely something where it's like I wish that sort of more bigger scale things sort of messed with that more. Where usually it's sort of relegated to like short films or sort of small projects. And again, like the only like kind of big thing that I can really think of that really kind of actually messed with like the animation medium and the animation styles really well is Spider-Verse that people really talk about. But I feel like again, so that this is something again, it's definitely not Spider-Verse is definitely different from this in terms of visual style, but I'm just saying the mix here at least shows that like I wish it was something that kind of continued onward instead of just being all 3D for CGI for a while. So yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I think like there are a lot of possibilities for mixing the 2D and 3D, and it seems like it's making like a kind of resurgence.
Mm-hmm.
At least in terms of like TV shows and stuff. So
yeah,
it'd be
a lot
cool
of
to
smaller
see.
things. I just kind of wish it was more like mainstream, bigger movies.
Definitely,
Yeah. Because like I know this was kind of a meme for a little bit, but I feel like the main hesitation I have with like trying to watch Raya is because they gave the fucking dragon Elsa face, and I'm just like, why would you do that? It's supposed to be a creature, not a person.
Mm.
God damn. Don't
Yeah.
be so lazy.
I guess in general with Disney, it seems like Moana kind of is like a little bit like you can see the stylistic difference a little bit, but at least between Frozen and Tangled, I feel like you could say they're like almost exactly the same models.
Yeah.
Which I know they're not, but it's
the same vibe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
As opposed to like in other like you could tell that like Cinderella and Jasmine are completely different styles.
Mm-hmm.
Or like Belle and like Jane or something like that.
Yeah. So hopefully things kind of branch out more, especially as animation becomes easier to do on like I mean it's not easy, but I mean like, cheaper and more available to just like people instead of just like two studios doing everything. So yeah, hopefully we'll see more of that. But I don't know. Any other specific things about this movie that either you want to mention? Because I feel like I talked about what I thought. So.
Oh, I guess going with like we were talking about how it's like colonial. What did you call it? Colonial Space Corps.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I would just like to throw in there that it's Colonial Space Corps with 90s also.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely the way that like his hair is, like Jim's hair, and the fact that he rides like a skateboard looking thing. I was like, 90s.
Yeah, or at least that like early 2000s kind of edginess a bit to it. Yeah, it's not really in your face about it, but it's there. Yeah.
Yeah. That's like the last thing that I have to mention about it. Please go see this movie.
Yeah.
Go back in time.
See this instead of Atlantis.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Alright, I guess we go to rating.
Okay. Shall I go first, I guess, since I'm the newbie?
You're the newbie.
Okay.
Yeah, they're the newbie.
Okay, well, I have a few small issues, but overall, like it quite a bit. Definitely visual style is great. Characterization, at least especially where it's focused on, is great. So I'm going to give it a good old solid 8. I think that's a good place to put it. Good, solid recommendation.
I think I also will give it an 8. I mean, every time I've seen this movie, it's been a good experience and stuff, and I don't really have anything against it. It's if someone recommends it, sure, I'll go see it and stuff.
If I could give it an 8.5, I would. Because I kind of feel like it's in that very particular spot of being an 8.5 where I really like it, but I guess it's not quite a 9, so I guess I have to round it down to an 8. But I've watched this like I had the DVD, and I used to have one of those portable DVD players. I would watch this like all the time. I've watched this maybe at least 12 or 13 times.
Oh wow.
Oh my god.
So
Yeah,
it's also better than the book. Don't read the book. That's not a knock on the author. That's just a knock on the book.
So
you can read his other
basically,
work.
watch this movie instead of reading Treasure Island, and watch this movie instead of watching Atlantis.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is our
Yep.
glowing recommendation.
Yep.
I
So I
can
guess-
stand by that.
So I guess reflecting on our underrated Disney-a-thon,
Mhm.
depending on who you ask, either Black Cauldron or Atlantis is the least impressive one
Yeah.
out of these
Yeah.
five.
I think overall our opinions are pretty much about the same. Where so we all like a Goofy movie the most, which is probably from like someone who hasn't seen any of these. That would seem really weird that a Goofy movie is the best one, but but it's
so
good.
wholesome.
It's good. Go watch.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the best one. And then I'd say Treasure Planet was second.
Yeah.
I think it's just
And
really
then
solid.
Robin Hood is most definitely third.
Wait,
Yeah.
so the top two are the father-son movies.
I guess
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
I mean, you could argue Robin Hood is a father. Okay, maybe not father.
I guess it's more like
father to be
brothers.
since Miriam made Miriam wants 12 kids.
Father-to-be movie.
But yeah, and then for me, like, okay, because basically Black Cauldron is just a movie that's just kind of like, like everything about it is just kind of okay. Whereas Atlantis is sort of like, it has some interesting ideas, but doesn't utilize them, and other things are worse. So it's sort of like, how do you, it's like one's inconsistent
the
while
two
one
of
is just
them.
sort of right? So
Yeah.
how do you place one over the other? And so again, like I gave Atlantis a 6. It's like the bottom of 6. It's like right on the edge of a 5. So, and I think we said that also like Black Cauldron was like a high 5. So I
Yeah.
view them like very close to each other. So I just think Atlantis is at least a little bit more interesting. Whether or not that's good is sort of up to your opinion. But I think it's at least a little bit more interesting. in
Oh,
that
so
sense,
I guess, are you likening it to a train wreck?
No, it's not. No, it's not that bad. It's
I'm
just
gonna call it a train wreck.
okay, fine.
Are you sure train wreck is the right word?
A
Because
shipwreck?
Yeah. Well,
No.
submarine wreck.
A submarine wreck?
I don't know.
Yeah.
When I think interesting in terms of a train wreck, I think of the Grinch. And I think we would all agree that we'd rather watch Atlantis than the Grinch.
Yeah, I would most definitely watch Atlantis.
How did I watch that movie when I was a child?
I didn't want to watch it as a child. That's how it worked. Oh, but speaking of things I watched as a child, so I don't really know the greatest segue for this.
I guess that was your
other
segue.
That is true. That was kind of a segue, but so you remember how for Black Cauldron I was saying how somehow I was able to watch Black Cauldron, but I found Snow White scary.
Yes.
Yes.
So there is a show that I watched around when I was like in elementary school. Admittedly, somehow I was able to watch it, even though there are some very nightmarish scenes in it and everything. But somehow, I guess it was not as scary as Snow White, and I do not understand that. I don't know how my brain worked as a small child. But the show we are watching is Inuyasha.
Yeah, I meant to get back to that.
I know this is a thing.
But
I
then
don't know anything about the thing.
you'll probably at least recognize one of the main characters if you
Yeah,
saw
I think
them.
you'll
Yeah, I
recognize
think
it.
so. I think I have
Yeah.
an image in my head of like a person, I think. Or is that the guy from Bleach? Shit, I don't know.
What color's the hair?
It's the hair. That's the biggest giveaway.
I don't remember.
Is
It's
it
like-
long or short?
Long?
That's
Okay.
Inuyasha.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
That's not Ichigo.
Okay, I don't know. I'm a normie. I don't know. This
So
Weebanese.
I guess I'll probably go more in depth in this when we actually do like the talk for it and stuff. But as I mentioned, I watched this in elementary school. This was like one of the first anime like that wasn't like Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon or something, or Digimon or something like that. This was one of the first anime that I knew it was an anime going into it. That I had watched as a kid, and I remember coming home from school, and Inuyasha I watched the dub because it was playing on Adult Swim, but I couldn't watch it obviously on Adult Swim when it was premiering because it would be 1 a.m. or something, and I was an elementary school student. So we used to put a VCR tape in the thing, and we had a time.
Recording. Yeah.
Yeah, we would have a time to record the episode. So when I would come back from school, then I would watch it and stuff, and then we would just like erase over it to get the next recording and stuff. So I have fond memories of this, and I like a couple years ago I convinced my aunt to watch it with me, but we didn't get to finish it. But
yeah, because it's hella long.
Okay,
yeah,
I was wondering. Okay.
This not as long as Detective Conan, except I'm not going to talk about the recent sequel series. To me, that doesn't exist. But regardless,
we're not going to talk about that.
I guess I'll learn about this next week.
We'll tell you about what happened.
I'm gonna learn a whole new realm. Okay.
Actually, that's a very accurate statement.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty accurate statement.
Okay. See, I'm already learning.
Yes.
I'm learning without
don't
even
look
knowing.
anything up, Valen.
Okay.
And I guess we will see you guys later in another realm, as Valen has mentioned.
I'm apparently prophetic. Alright, so next Sunday is Inuyasha. Oh boy.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Bye.
This is Mickey Mouse. This is a horrible Mickey Mouse voice. Because I'm not even trying.